Hey, Ramel.
Yo, what's going on, guys?
Hey,
What's up, man? How you
where are
doing?
you right now? Where are you in New Jersey?
I'm in Jersey, man. I'm in
Okay,
Jersey. So I'm
awesome.
in South Jersey, like 15 minutes away from Philadelphia.
Okay, nice,
Yeah.
very cool. I see you got the YouTube plaque in the back.
Yeah, I
Dude,
had to, I
that's
had to
lit.
stunt real quick. I had to.
The trucking industry is crazy right now, and being a broker can be stressful. Managing your invoices, billing, collecting, carrier base, and cash flow can feel like an impossible task. But I can tell you, OTR Solutions has figured out the impossible. They eliminate cash flow problems for carrier payments and ensure margin funding in just 24 hours with broker invoice factoring. OTR Solutions takes care of billing and collection processes with your shippers. And with lightning quick and accurate invoicing, your customers will never need another broker to handle their freight needs. Kick back, relax, and let OTR take care of your brokerage. If you want to know more, and I hope you do, check them out at otrsolutions.com/freight-caviar to see what they can do for your business. Or give them a call. They love to talk to brokers at 770-882-0124. We've partnered with Ascend TMS, the world's most popular and top-rated transportation management system. It's the ultimate tool for all your freight needs. You can use our referral code RA-Freight Caviar to receive 3 months of Ascend TMS for free. It only takes 20 seconds to sign up and no credit card is required. You can click the link below to learn more. I know that last week I saw your Twitter post that you guys were kicked off of Instagram and you're back on now, right?
Or for Twitter.
We got banned off of Twitter?
Yeah, I got banned off of Twitter. I never got banned off of Instagram.
Oh, I thought it was
Oh, wow.
but I saw you
Yeah,
tweeting
no,
on.
Twitter, for some reason they banned me. I have no idea. Like my Twitter following is like it was like the smallest of all followings. And all of a
But
sudden I got some letter just saying like you're banned for inappropriate activity. I have no idea what I did, man. It was crazy.
okay, but I saw
We
I
should have
saw.
all our followers hit Elon Musk up and be like, "Yo, what's your issue, bro?"
Facts. Yo, I have no idea what I did. No idea.
You
I don't even
know,
I'm barely even on the account. So I'm like, what are you talking about? What do you
so
mean?
I don't know. I know that my Twitter for Shipper CRM got banned, and like I try to email them, and they're like it's non-existent because he like fired 80% of his team, and like no one replies to emails at Twitter anymore. But
Exactly.
yeah, that's
So I don't know
okay.
what like do you know and you have no idea what it was for, right? Like
No, Twitter's been kind of weird. Uh, yeah, I don't know. I have no idea. I thought it was Instagram for a second because I thought I saw something about Instagram. No?
nah, on my IG has been fine. I haven't had any issues there.
Okay,
I've never
okay,
had any issues on any social network but Twitter. And literally like I said, I just joined Twitter maybe I've had an account, but I'm not very active on there. But like
okay.
I've been making it a point to get active on Twitter recently. And
Yeah,
like I just started tweeting, and all of a sudden, like a month later, man, they're like, yo, you're banned. I'm like, what's going on, man? Like
yeah.
it kind of discouraged me a little
Because
bit because I was growing it a bit. I was at like maybe like 400 or 500 people. And all
Sure,
of a sudden,
sure.
I had to start from scratch again. So I'm like, all right, but it is what it is. But I think Twitter is
Yeah,
like extremely powerful, man. Like that is a platform right there that I've never really paid attention to. But as
yeah.
I start really like, kind of diving into like these different platforms, like Twitter is where it's at, bro. Twitter,
Tw-
really,
Twitter is where it's at,
so
and LinkedIn. Like that's my focus from here on out. I don't even care about Instagram and all that shit anymore. Like
for
I
sure.
can care
yeah.
less. That
Yeah,
Twitter and LinkedIn is where it's at.
and YouTube.
I
I think
wonder.
YouTube.
And
I,
YouTube, of course. YouTube
But
is like the network of all networks,
should we
of course,
start,
yeah. But
Bob? Or what do you want
yeah,
to?
yeah.
we can get into it
No,
whenever
Bob,
of
you
you
want
guys are
course.
to?
ready.
Yeah, because
Let's do it.
I feel like a lot of this would be great for the podcast
Okay, go
interview.
ahead. I mean, if you
Yeah,
want to introduce Ramel, go ahead, bro.
yeah, yeah. Hey
And I
everyone.
sound okay? Everything's good with the sound? I got my
We're
mic on. Is it good? All
yeah,
right,
we're good to
cool.
go. We're good to go.
Let's get it. I'm
Awesome.
ready.
We have an exciting guest with us today. Please welcome the founder of Truck and Hustle and the man behind Freight Fest, Ramel Watley. Ramel, thanks for joining us today.
Paul, man, thank you for having me. I appreciate you guys. I'm a big fan of Freight Caviar, USA Transportation, everything you guys do, man. I've been watching, and thank you for having me on your platform, man. Let's
Definitely,
do it.
Ramel. And likewise, we love Truck and Hustle. So this is going to be a great interview. I'm really looking forward to it. Ramel, can you start it off and just tell us how you got involved in the transportation and logistics industry?
Yeah, for sure. So I'll like keep it short and sweet because I know everybody wants to get to like some better content. But just real briefly, I've been in transportation for like half of my life, right? I started at early 20s. I started off working. Well, actually, I started off getting my CDL. I got a CDL. Really quickly realized that driving a truck wasn't for me just because I was uncomfortable with it, but was fortunate enough to get an opportunity to work for a small mom and pop trucking company called Bond Transfer out of Maryland. They had a remote terminal out here in Jersey in Cinnaminson near where I live. And basically it was like a terminal that was on site for ball plastic. So basically we were like had a small office inside the warehouse and they had a Pepsi account shipping plastic bottles all over the country. So basically I started working with them. The actual guy who brought me on, it was a young guy. The manager was like 30 years old at the time. I was like early 20s and we kind of connected. That's how I got the job. And basically, he ended up getting fired because he did some kind of heinous things. He was like creating like false companies and like, billing himself and paying himself. And he ran the company up for like $300,000. We can
Oh,
talk about
wow.
that later. But either way, by default, I end up running that account because they got rid of him. And I was the only one really there who knew what was going on. So I ended up running that account for like 2 more years. It was a multi-million-dollar account, big account. So that's where I kind of learned about like operations, transportation, running a trucking company, just understanding like everything from like, the money transactions to equipment, all that good stuff, right? Moved on, kind of built my career, worked for Ryder for 7 years, their RIL division, delivering for CVS. And then worked for a few other larger transportation companies. And then in 2015, I started my own staffing company, which was basically a temp agency for truck drivers. So I would hire CDL drivers, class A and B. I would have contracts with mid-sized to larger carriers for local accounts. They get done same day. And I would basically hire the guys. And then if they needed drivers like on a seasonal basis or temporary basis based on like seasonal spikes, they would call me. I would send the guys there. And that was my business. I've been doing that for the last 6 years. And 2019 is when I started Truck and Hustle. That was just kind of like something I wanted to do as a passion project to kind of give back, teach people about all the opportunities in transportation, logistics. And that's kind of where we got started, man. So Truck and Hustle, for anybody who's not familiar, we are a platform that primarily, we started off as a podcast interviewing transportation and logistics entrepreneurs. So anybody from, small carriers, 1 to 5 truck owner operators to service providers like freight brokers, freight forwarders, to, all different types of niches in transportation, air freight, ocean freight. We just cover everything, right? We want to cover the full transportation and logistics and supply chain scene. So that's what we do. We hire like interesting people who come from different backgrounds, who are kind of in the space, and we kind of let them tell their origin story, how they got started, how they built their business. Then I kind of try to get really nosy and dig in to some tips and tricks and help our listeners and our audience kind of learn how they could build their businesses the same way. And that's what we do, man. So we did that in 2019, started off doing podcasts just like this. This was like during the pandemic heavily. So, everything was virtual. Then in 2020, we moved into like the video on YouTube, which really like grew us exponentially because now people were kind of finding us and finding the podcast right on YouTube because it's more like search intent. And then after that, like in 2022, we got into events. So we started with some small networking events in Atlanta and Houston. And then we built up to our conference, which is Freight Fest, which is in Houston, Texas annually. That's actually coming up again September 28th through October 1st. It's what I like to call Truck and Hustle on steroids, where we bring all of our past guests and some other people from our network together to have one conference. Different subject matter experts talk about their niches as well as cover all the foundational things of any company, right? Whether you're in transportation or whatever, you got to have accounting, you have to have insurance, in transportation, you got to have factoring, all these different things, compliance, right? So we kind of cover that and just a whole full ball of wax, man. It's really exciting and I'm really looking forward to it. So that's like the quick, I want to run through that quickly so we can get into like the good stuff. You know what I mean?
No, it's such an amazing story though. How you've been able to grow like your businesses, and with the content that you've created, you've been able to turn it into a networking opportunities and a conference, which is just for me like amazing. And I don't know if anyone else in the industry has done that. Like kind of bootstrapped it, because everyone else is just a ton of money and they're like venture capital money, or just, they have different, I guess, abilities in order to actually grow something, but you did it all through the internet, which is just phenomenal. So
Nah, appreciate that, man.
good stuff.
Appreciate that. Yeah, we are 100% bootstrap, man. Just have been building, and you're right. And sometimes I look at myself like, man, we're crazy. We're doing like too much. Because when I look at like some of the other conferences and stuff out there, like that's all they do. They literally all year like promote and build and sell sponsorships for a conference, but we're like creating content. We're building community. We're doing merch. We're doing a podcast, and we're doing these conferences, and we're doing networking events. So it's a lot. But I got a good team. So I mean,
awesome.
that's really what it's all about, is just having that team to really support all the vision of what we're trying to build.
Definitely good stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome, and that's crazy that you were kind of able to just kind of. I feel like everything was a step. Even how you started like running that account, and then like running a staffing company, and then just kind of, and now you're doing these events. Running a little bit back, like to the back thing. You said that you were like running that account after your friend got what is it called? Like he was kicked out of the company or fired.
Yeah.
Were you actually like running the accounts as in,
I was
like
running that account,
those accounts, or you were running like driving still for that?
No. So I never. So I literally got my CDL and never drove the truck. So I got my CDL. Okay. I passed the test, but while I was out looking for driving jobs, I actually ended up meeting this guy who connected me and brought me into work as a dispatcher for the small mom and pop company. So I never had to drive. Right. So I have a CDL to this day. I still keep my medical card up to date. If I wanted to get in the truck, I could drive. But do I know how to drive the truck? Hell no. Like right now, like my skills are washed.
You'd be like a Swift driver backing in, huh?
That's right. That's a fact. Like my skills are definitely washed, but I kept it because I always said, like, to me, if you have a CDL, it's like a golden ticket, man. You could always get a job. You could always use it in some way. So I never wanted to let my credentials like go away. So I got a passenger endorsement on my CDLA. I keep that, and I also just keep my medical card up to date. So I'm always, if I'm needed in the truck, I could always jump in there.
Okay, that's awesome. Pretty cool. See, I didn't know that. I thought like you were a driver first and then kind of started from that. But have you ever thought about maybe doing that, or like you have no idea?
What,
like,
driving?
Yeah.
Nah, that's not for me. Listen, I know my strengths and I know my weaknesses, and I'm willing to stay in my lane. For me, driving is just I'm not even a great driver just buying a regular car, let alone a 80,000-pound missile. You know what I'm saying? So
it's a lot easier.
I just stay
driving
in my lane.
A semi truck is a lot easier than driving a car because you're sitting up higher, and I feel like it's not as scary as driving a car, honestly.
Well, here's the thing. I'm gonna tell you what really scared me when I was learning to drive. We went on this bridge, right? And it was this bridge, and like you said, you sit up really high, and I'm just driving. I'm looking over this bridge, and I'm seeing all this water, and I'm like, man, if I make one false move, man, like it's over for me. Like, like the car, like you might bump into a median or something like that. A truck, you going over, man. So like for me, it was just nerves. I was like, man, I don't know if I could drive this truck. Now, mind you, I was gonna do it. Like I wasn't totally against doing it. I was actually in the process of like looking for driving jobs. But when this opportunity came, it just kind of changed the trajectory of everything. It wasn't intentional. It was really luck. Like I just happened to meet a person who was cool enough to give me a shot, because I didn't even have the background or credentials for that opportunity. I literally just walked in there, and because we hit it off. And he was like, yo, you seem pretty cool. Like, you seem like you would be good with the drivers, and you're pretty personable. I like you. Have you ever considered like dispatching? And I don't even know what that is at the time, literally. Like, because I'm fresh in just learning about trucking. I'm starting with the truck. So I'm like, well, what is that? And he's like, well, basically, you're just a manager for the drivers. You'll be managing the guys. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. I could do that. And mind you, he was paying me like $45,000 a year. Now, and now, if I say that, like now, people may be like 45, like, come on, man, that's nothing, right? And maybe to some people I don't want to be disrespectful, but at that time, that wasn't a lot, like just in terms of like a corporate job or whatever. But I'm sorry, today it may not be a lot, but in that time, it was a hell of a lot. I didn't have a college degree, anything like that. Like literally, I went to high school. I spent about 3 years just kind of doing my own thing. And then I came back to that. So it's like for me to get a job where I'm getting a salary of like 45K starting out with no college degree, I was like, man, that's everything. So it was a huge opportunity for me. So that really like just changed the trajectory and got me into trucking. And then I started learning about, like there was one thing driving the trucks, but there's a whole world behind it, right? There's a whole logistics behind like how that happens.
Yeah, kind of how you were saying. So now you're kind of doing all these events and podcasts, and there's so many different wheels to the whole system, right? To the car, to the trucking industry. Like you said, accounting, there's factoring, all this. And when you like step behind and you're like, whoa, it's not just driving a truck. There's so many things that go into it.
That's
kind
right.
of cool though.
Definitely.
Yeah, and that's what just opened my eyes wide. So when I started, like, I felt like I was a part of like an underworld, man. Like I felt like I was a part of like a secret society because nobody really knew about the industry like that. Like my peer group, my friends, there wasn't anybody really like in transportation. Some guys were driving and working in the warehouse, but nobody knew about like what goes on behind the scenes. Yeah. So just kind of being a part of that, I had like a specialized set of skills and knowledge that I was kind of learning that really kind of set me apart from everybody else in my peer group. And that's when I realized that transportation was special, because I'm like, yo, this is special. Like this is, and even at that time, like there wasn't really like a place you go to college to learn how to be in transportation and logistics or supply chain. Like it was new. There were certain people like offering it, but it was like you almost had to be in the business to learn about the business. So if you weren't in it, you would never really learn about it. And typically all the companies were like all like family owned businesses. And, you know, these are businesses been around for 50 to 100 years and they're just growing their business. And they're not really, it's not a corporatized thing. It's more so like family. You get promoted from within. And like even in corporate, like even when I worked for Ryder, a lot of people who work for Ryder, they would start like as mechanics, like technicians, and they would grow to be like, you know, heads of like multi divisions. And it was crazy. Like they would always promote from within, right? They didn't look outside. They'd always promote from within. So they would look at leadership, regardless where you were at. If you were a good leader, they were willing to take you on and build up your skills to lead in something else, right? So I always thought that was cool. And like, there's no other industry like that. Most industries, you have to have a certain set of credentials before they even like give you a look. You know what I mean? Like if you don't have that 4-year degree, if you don't have that college or a bachelor's, associates, whatever, like you're not even getting a look. An opportunity in trucking, transportation, you can get a look regardless. Like, and I don't know if it's the same now because it's a lot of years have passed. But when I was coming up, man, you didn't even need a college degree. You can literally, as long as you know what to do, you know how to get that thing from point A to point B and how to communicate and how to solve problems. That's all that really mattered.
As long as you hustle. That's all that matters.
Ultimately, right? And you're willing to do the work, and you're willing to work hard, and you're willing to not sleep, and you're willing to have calls coming at 4 or 5 in the morning, and you're willing to, you know, babysit these drivers sometimes, no disrespect, and you're willing to do all of that. If you could do that, then 100% you're fit for this industry. And a lot of people aren't fit for that life. Like I spent my whole career just literally like working 24/7 nonstop. Like you guys know, it don't stop. Like so, literally, like when you think you're gonna get some rest now, the phone is ringing. What's up, man? What's going on? And you know, drivers, they love to make you a part of their problems. Like whatever they're going through, it's your problem too. Even if they could fix it, nah, this is our problem.
I know.
So
you know what I'm saying?
Like to build on that, Ramel, you travel a lot. Like I see you travel a lot. You have a lot of you have the Freight Fest, but you also have the networking events. I mean, like, how's your work schedule nowadays? Like, are you still getting blown up? I'm guessing you get blown up all the time. Like how big is your team? Like how often do you travel? Like how does that look like?
So I try to be smart about traveling because, you know, just trying to, you know, manage time, right? So everything that we do is pretty much strategic. So if we're going somewhere to do a conference, we're going to try to plan some podcasts. If we're planning some podcasts, we're going to try to plan a networking event. So we try to like really forecast where we're going and what we want to do so that we can get like the most cluck for our buck. You know what I'm saying? Because traveling, it's expensive. Like we moving with a whole team, cameras and all that, flights, hotels and all that. So we really just try to, you know, be as efficient as possible when we're moving around. But I do a ton of traveling, bro. Like I'm probably home like maybe 10 days out of every month. Like I'm literally like half on the road, half traveling, and it's between different things. So, you know, not only just shooting a podcast, but different events that we're attending, different events that we're actually, you know, throwing, then just like networking, meeting people, connecting with people behind the scenes that nobody even necessarily sees on the platform, just, you know, doing business. So we stay on the move, man. We literally stay on the move. My wife is like, she's going crazy.
I could imagine.
It's literally like every time, and I just moved too. So we're in the process of like getting our new home together, and we're traveling so much. So it's like we're managing all that. So it's a lot. I'm gonna be honest with you, but for me, it's like that's the way. That's what I need to do to stand out, right? In order for me to
Plus it's
get extraordinary results, I got to do extraordinary shit. You know what I'm saying? Can I say shit on here? Is that cool?
Of course.
Yeah,
go
of
ahead.
course.
So I got to do extraordinary shit. So it's like I'm going to like go above and beyond and do the things that I feel like everybody else isn't doing in order to be at the top of the game. And that's how we've built the podcast. Just doing like people may say, hey man, like why don't you just do it virtual? Or why don't you just stay in one spot? Why do you do all this traveling and invest all this money and go into all these different places? And it's like maybe I don't see the return next day, but I know I'm building something long term, and all of that like investment in time will come back, tenfold, hopefully.
Yeah, definitely. 100%. I love it. And then we 100%. In the back you have the plaque for YouTube. I just wanted to notice that, like the silver plaque, which is over 100,000 subscribers. You right now have 140,000 subscribers. Like, I'm not sure if there's any other transportation podcast out there that has that many subscribers on YouTube, but if there is, I haven't seen it. So just like congrats on that, Ramel. Can you tell us?
Appreciate that, man. Thank you.
How were you able to build it, like to be that big?
Man, just consistency. So I'm gonna say this, right? The most important thing about YouTube is number one, developing a consistent cadence to where people know that you're gonna show up for them that time, every time, without fail, right? So we've put out 100 and I think like almost 80 episodes now consistently every Tuesday for the last 3.5 years. And I've probably missed maybe 2 or 3 weeks. And most of those times that I missed were like maybe Christmas or like New Year's or something like that. We took a break intentionally because we felt like, all right, let's take a break. Or maybe we ran out of content and we like, all right, we need to stack up on some content and then we'll come back, right? So miss like maybe 2, 3, tops 4. So that's a lot of just consistency, right? And the thing is, you never know when the algorithm gods are going to be in your favor in YouTube. So you have to stack content so that when that one piece of content does hit for you and people go back through your history, now they're going to say, oh, okay, this isn't like a one-off type of like, lightning strike in a bottle type of thing. This guy or this girl, whoever, has been doing content forever. And I need to go and I need to go ahead and binge watch and check out all the other, because if I like this, then most likely I'm like the other stuff. So that's how you get that subscribe. You know what I mean? Like, and that's what I feel has worked for me, because it didn't grow. It kind of just came in like, it comes in spurts. You know what I mean? Like you'll see like a spurt of like 10, 20,000 and all of a sudden it'll go kind of dead, right? And it's like, okay, maybe 1,000 here, 2,000 here, 3,000 here. But it's like when those pieces of content hit and the algorithm favors it, then all of a sudden people start, they look through your entire channel. If they go through your channel and you don't have a backlog of or catalog of stuff, they're like, all right, well, let's move on because there's nothing else to see here. I've seen everything. Right. So just in building that content, that catalog, people can see like we've been putting in work for years. So now it's like, let's subscribe and let's see what they've done in the past and let's see what they have in store for us for the future. So I think that's really it, man. And it sounds like super cliche, super corny, but like it's just consistency, man. You just have to keep on doing it and there's some other little tricks too that we could get into. But like for the most part, it's just literally just being consistent. Like making,
and then when somebody finds that channel and they really like trucking, they'll, like you said, they'll go back and rewatch it. Like I found this channel, it's called Economics Explained, and this, like you said, right, I liked one video, I went checked out his channel, and he has like a bunch of different videos. So all I did was literally each day just go and rewatch his other video, because I kind of like the way he was explaining economics about different countries and stuff, so that's kind of the that definitely makes sense.
Yeah, that's how it works, man. So it's literally just like, having the catalog. So when people do find you, they want to stay. You know what I mean? So like a lot of people get discouraged and they're like, oh, my video's not hitting. It's getting a couple hundred views or getting whatever. But it's like you have to keep on building that catalog, because eventually one of those videos are going to hit. And then people are going to look back and they're going to say, OK, you've been working. You're just the best kept secret. Nobody knows about you. All right, well, let me go ahead and discover all this other content that you've done. So that's really the secret, man.
That's what I keep telling Paul about our YouTube channel. YouTube channel.
It's our YouTube channel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, 100%. That's it, bro. Like if you're putting out good content, eventually, like I say, the cream always is gonna rise to the top. It's just a matter of people like, and there's calls to actions and different things you could do to tell people to subscribe and all that.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's like if the content is good, they're gonna subscribe. So you don't need to necessarily do that. That's like little extra stuff. But the
Yeah.
key is consistently, and then of course, just good content. Like
Yeah.
consistency and good content is gonna win every time.
And I feel like the content gets better too. You kind of get more comfortable or better as you do it. Like, because I remember when I created my Instagram, right, like 7 years ago, dude, I was posting the most crappiest memes ever. You know, like me looking back, I'm like, what was I
Yeah.
even thinking? How did I even manage to build up this kind of following? You know, but then as like time went on, and I started making more and more, and they were like, okay,
It
this is more fun.
compounds, you know, like the
Yeah,
following.
it compounds. Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, anytime you look back on your old work, you're gonna be embarrassed. Like, damn, I used to do
Yeah.
that.
That's a good
That was
sign,
me.
though.
But eventually, after, like you said, you get better, man. You learn from other
Yeah.
people. You see what's going on, like what's working for other platforms, and how you can kind of like, I don't want to say copy, but copy, take
Yeah.
those things, but make it your own. Like I'm
Sure.
a big fan of like, yo, if I see something that's working, oh, I'm definitely going to use it, but I'm going to
100%.
definitely not just replicate it. I'm going to try to put my spin on it to where
Sure.
it still belongs to Truck and Hustle, or it still belongs to me. But man, if you're using a certain font and I'm seeing that font is popping, I'm like, yo, use this font. Like you see how their page is set up? I want it to look just like that. Like I do that all the time. I do that all the time. I look at different people's platforms and I'll take little pieces. I'll say, I want you to replicate that, but how can we take that and put our own spin on it to that where it's ours? Because all I really have to do is like change one key thing and it becomes mine. I own it, right?
Yeah.
So that's what content is really all about. Seeing what works, taking it, and then just like kind of refreshing it to make it personal to you.
Totally.
Yeah. So Ramel, when did you hit 100,000 subscribers? Like how deep, or I guess how many years were you into YouTube, and like how long ago was this?
I would say I don't remember 100%, but I would say sometime like last year, like maybe November, December last year, some like around Freight Fest, like when we had Freight Fest, I would say. And I'm not 100% sure, but I think it was around there.
So
were you like pretty excited about it?
Hell yeah, I was excited about it, man. Like that's like, I mean, it's funny. Like when I have kids, right? So I have two daughters, and like, when they were growing up, and even I have nephews and stuff like that too, and like they would tell me they want to be YouTubers, and like, and I'm like laughing at them, like, are you serious? Like, you got to get a real job. And like, because at that time, my mindset, I didn't realize the power of YouTube and the power of social media and just the power of like creating these platforms, right? And building like a personal brand and all that stuff. But yeah, man, like, it's just YouTube has done a very good job of making it a thing to hit those milestones. Like, people, this nice plaque, like this is a heavy ass plaque that you can hold, be proud of, hang up. It pops. Like you said, as soon as you came on, the first thing you saw is a plaque. Before you even see me, you see a plaque, right? Yeah. So they've done a really good job of like incentivizing and like rewarding you for that accomplishment. But yeah, man, because it seems like a long road, bro. It just seems like such a long road. And in hindsight, it hasn't really been that long. I've been doing this for almost 4 years now, but I didn't start the YouTube until 2020, like 2019, 2020, but literally started really posting on the YouTube consistently like late 2021, right? So what I did was I had uploaded a bunch of the audio podcasts to the YouTube channel just to like start a YouTube channel. Like I wasn't really concerned with actually shooting videos. I was like, let me just put some thumbnails on these audio podcasts that maybe nobody's seen on YouTube. Let me just put it on YouTube. And that was it. I did that for a very long time. And I think I shot my first actual YouTube video, which the first one has like almost a million views now. It's like 700 something, almost 800,000. And that was, I want to say in like November of 2019 or 2020, like somewhere around there. And after that, I took another break. And then I started, doubling down on just doing all the visual content, period. Like I made up my mind and said, you know what? I'm not doing anything virtual anymore. Everything's going to be video from now on out. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I've done some virtual since then, but for the most part, I wanted the bulk or majority to be in-person, interviews, whether I'm in a studio, whether I'm renting out a peer space studio, or I'm on location in my condo, or I'm going to their, wherever they're at, their office, their warehouse, whatever. Like I was like, this is where it's at, this is where it's going. Like if I want to really like double up and build a network, I need to be creating TV. You know what I'm saying? Like I want to be creating TV, like something that could be played on Netflix. So that's when I made up my mind. I got the Black Magic cameras and just really started investing in the equipment and just never looked back from there.
Hey, you never know. They might actually one day maybe Netflix will reach out. You know, they've
You
been
never
doing a lot of
know.
different
Yeah.
stuff. So like it's kind of crazy. We live in a crazy world, but this stuff can one day you'll get a phone call. Hey, we would like you on a Netflix. You know,
Or even like some TV channel might like hit you up, be
Yeah.
like they want to do a TV show with you, you know? Where
Yeah, no, for sure. And that's the thing, you're already ready, right? So like
Oh.
we had
Yeah.
we did a partnership with Fox for
Oh,
like
wow.
a brief partnership, and we're still like it's still kind of like out there, but like nothing really happened with it. It's kind of just in the clouds somewhere, right? But anyway, saying that to say, when we did the partnership with them, we had all the content ready. So we were able to create like 6 episodes for them, like a pilot run. And we just created the 6 episodes, gave it to them. It was already done. We didn't have to shoot anything like that. And they were able to test it. And we came in third out of all of their shows that were on the platform in that testing week. So we did extremely well with Fox.
Oh wow.
Wow.
So yeah, so I mean, just to your point, like you never know who's watching and what opportunities you could
Exactly.
get. If you're already ready, like they say, you don't got to you stay ready, right? You don't got to get ready if you're already prepared. So yeah, that's the whole key with creating that kind of content.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I've
fascinating.
noticed with also like starting my Instagram. I never thought like me posting memes, you know, me and Paul would be doing a podcast together. Even Paul would like ask me to do it. And I'm like, dude, I can't talk. I can't, you know, I can't do this. But now it's kind of evolved where it's like you just never know where like it could be in 5 years, you know. So
I mean, even like your personal brand, right? Like, you know, your page was primarily memes, right? But now you're showing your face more. Now people are starting to associate Bob with USA Transportation, right? So whereas before it was just memes. So it's like, you know, as you may have never thought, like, I'm going to actually be on camera. I'm going to be talking. I'm going to be podcasting. But you never know, man. Like this space is just, first of all, go ahead.
I mentioned this before when I first started my Instagram. I grew it to like 20,000 followers without my face. My brothers and like my friends would be sending me my memes to my personal account because nobody knew who was running it, you know. But then after that, I started posting my face. They're like, "Whoa, you run that page?" And I was like, "Yeah,
yeah." No, cool. but that like these days, like personal brand is everything. Like, you know, and I even have to get better with that. Like a lot of people know Truck and Hustle, they see the logo and all that, but I've had to become intentional with even just building my personal brand so people know faces, who the founder is, who the visionary is behind it, because that just like 10x's the value of what you're doing. When you have a personal brand and you have a strong brand, it's like, oh man, that's when, you know, things really start happening for you. So I'm glad you're doing it. It's extremely important to like make sure people know who you are, you know?
Yeah.
So Ramel, I'm wondering, because you have a few businesses, right? You do the recruiting, you have the media side, and then I saw on LinkedIn there was a few other things that you're a managing partner of. How do you like manage all this? How does your schedule look like?
Yeah, so it's just crazy. So on the recruiting side, I have a partner who's mainly like handles that, like in terms of like runs the operation. So it frees me up a lot to kind of like do the Truck and Hustle things. But for the most part, it's very it's just time management, bro. It's literally just time management, like just having a calendar, kind of like forecasting what we have planned, and just making the best out of your day. You know, like back-to-back meetings and just like, you know, just making the best out of your day, man. You know, it's difficult though. It's definitely difficult.
How many hours a day do you typically work? Do you work weekends?
I don't stop working.
Yeah,
like,
morning
I'm always working.
That's literally what I tell everybody too. People are like, "Yo, what do you work?" It's like I'm always on call.
I'm always working because even if I think I'm not working, I'm still working. I'm still looking at an email. I'm still responding to somebody on text.
Sure.
I don't really ever stop working until like I shut my eyes and go to sleep. Whenever that is, I'm working. I'm on.
So if you don't mind me asking, you don't have to answer, but like, so if you have different businesses, what's the main, I guess, source of income, or what do you see your money coming in from? You know, like if you don't mind answering that.
Yeah. So I mean, a little bit of everything. So right now, my baby is Truck and Hustle, like really just growing Truck and Hustle. And we could kind of talk about like media and how to monetize it, right? And like where the money's gonna come from. So for Truck and Hustle, the main thing is always going to be sponsorships. Right. And that's going to be people who are looking to get in front of your audience and you know, put their brand or their product or their service out in front of your audience. So that's
Yeah.
always been like the top of monetization for us. On top of that, like affiliate partnerships. In addition to that, merch. Like you see in the back, I got all these boxes here. That's like t-shirts, sweatshirts, merchandise, and then events. So they all kind of like feed the monster. You know what I mean? They all kind of feed the monster. There, I would say if I had to say which one was the where we get the most income from, it's the sponsorship and like events, like kind of combined.
Oh, nice.
So
Yeah, because I tried the merch. I tried the merch myself, and it was like, oh, that was tough for me. But I didn't really go like full at it. I remember, but yeah, that was like, and I'm horrible with sponsors. Paul is really good with sponsors.
Bob, we have to set up our merch store. There's a website for it. We could do that afterwards.
I know it's Teespring, right? I've tried it on Teespring, but it wasn't like
Yeah, no, definitely, man. Merch, especially when you have I mean, the thing is, at the end of the day, you guys have built an audience and built a following. So lyrically, you could productize like everything you're doing, like whether you're selling merch, whether you have a product, whether you have a service, whether you have an app like Shipper CRM, like now is the time to monetize your audience because people know, like, and trust you. You've built that relationship with them, and they know that if they like your content so far, chances are they're gonna like your product as well. So I mean, all you have to do is kind of say, all right, this is what we're working on doing. This is what we're looking at. What do you guys think about this? Right? You kind of put like surveys out there, kind of survey your audience to see what they think about certain products or whatever ideas you have. And then just build the ideas around that. But I mean, you have the most important part already, which is attention.
Yeah. Totally.
So that's one thing where I kind of like don't want to do certain things because I don't want to like half-ass stuff. Like if I'm gonna make, I feel like something or try to sell it to my audience or to my people, I really like want them to like it as much as I would. Like I would want to wear it myself, or I would like represent it instead of just kind of like doing it. That's what I've noticed about when I was first doing like merch. I was like, okay, I need like the best quality, I need this and that, but then it's like you put so much
you're good.
Are you guys here?
Still on? Yeah, we're here.
Yeah, you put so much like effort into it, and then you get like such a small like rate return on it, and then you're like, oh man, this is such a it's such a time consuming thing. So but
no, I mean, you're right. Like and I had the same thing to where like I wanted to make sure I had like the best quality sweatshirts, the best quality t-shirts. And I'm like, when I'm talking to like the different vendors, I'm like, man, I need like the best quality. Like I don't want anything with my name on it that's like gonna wash and shrink, or it's gonna fade or whatever. So and we've invested in that type of quality. So we spend a lot of money on the quality, and you're right, it doesn't necessarily come back to where, because people don't want to spend tons of money on t-shirts and sweatshirts and all that. But as you grow and continue to do the merch, and I'm still growing mine as well, like I'm still building on it and still learning more about it, but you'll find ways to kind of cut your costs. You could do like print on demand to where you don't have to necessarily spend all the money up front and carry inventory. You just have to decide like what you want to do and how involved you want to be in the process. Like, do you want to touch every single piece of merch? Do you want to spend your time going through boxes and counting and doing inventory and then kind of shipping it out and doing the fulfillment yourself? No. Or would you rather, which I'm sure you probably don't, right? You got other things to do. Or would you rather, have somebody else handle that for you, right? And just make sure like, all right, this is what these are the blanks that we want. This is the quality that we want, but you guys take care of that. And I just want to like, just look at my Shopify account and just, count dollars at the end of the day. Like, I'm not concerned with anything else. Like, just talk to me when the money's in, right? So it just depends on what's important to you.
Yeah. So Ramel, I want to get to the events part, because you launched Freight Fest, and I'm guessing from all the revenue sources that you have, events is probably the most difficult, because it involves getting so many people into one place, a venue. There's so many overhead costs. Can you kind of tell us like what like motivated you to start Freight Fest, and kind of like the obstacles that you faced in order to actually launch it and the whole process behind it?
All right. So I'll tell you what motivated me. So to begin, I launched Freight Fest, number one, because a lot of the conferences and things that I attended were kind of boring to me. Like I didn't enjoy myself at some of them, and some of them I have, not all of them, but some of them I'm like, man, this is like the same old stuff, man. This
fluffy
is
stuff.
Fluffy, is boring. People just selling their stuff, and it's like, what are people really getting out of this, right? So I wanted to like just kind of create something that was in the spirit of truck and hustle, and just had that feeling of just like community. And it was a combination of, community, learning, knowledge sharing, but fun, entertainment, good food, good time, networking, and just kind of curate that kind of whole feeling. So that was like my initial thought, like, how can I create that? Right. And I kind of went into it, like not understanding everything that it took to put together an event. And it takes a lot. Like it takes a lot, to the point to where last year, if I wasn't so committed, like I probably would have like turned back and said, you know what, never mind. I don't want to do this, because number one, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of stress, right? And, it's a lot of moving parts. And you have to have a team of people that are all kind of coming together for this one day, or, well, in Freight Fest case, it's 3 days. For these 3 days, and it's like once it's over, it's kind of over. So you do like all this work leading up to this 3-day event, and then it's over and it's done. So it just doesn't seem like very rewarding. But, in putting together Freight Fest, it's like I felt like we needed to do something that would kind of be our annual day or our annual thing that everybody in our community who supports Truck and Hustle, who listens to Truck and Hustle, or who's been on the platform could kind of come together in one space. Because what Truck and Hustle is like that place where like people go to find like the next star, right? So like people are tuning in every week to like we're introducing new people into our community every week. And sometimes people are known already or whatever, right? But there's a lot of times where you may have not ever come across this person's content. You never heard about this person's business, and they're like a brand new face to you. So that's what people started kind of looking at Truck and Hustle for, like, oh, that story, like, oh, this guy, that I got to tune in for that. I got to check out this story, right? So I wanted to create something to where like we can have all these amazing people in one place at one time, because it's one thing to be able to watch them on YouTube and watch their story and all that. But the first thing that happens typically when people watch a Truck and Hustle interview is everybody's now reaching out directly to that person. Everybody wants to connect with them. Like we literally like blow up people's social media, their businesses, their DMs overnight. Like literally they're on the platform. Next day they're like, yo, you did not tell me it was going to be like this. Like these DMs are in shambles. My emails are in shambles, right? Like literally, like we've literally like had that happen most times. Like most times when people on the platform, that's the feedback we get. So I'm like, how do we create something to where we could have all these people in one room, right? And just, bring all these niches together. And then another thing that I realized, that with a lot of different conferences and events and trade shows, like typically they're like about like one kind of topic, or, it's about something in particular. I wanted to do something that talked about a bunch of different topics and like brought them all together, right? And just show the commonality between all the topics, bring the subject matter experts together in one place. And then we could talk about all these different things at one time. And you can just get like, man, just back to back, just hits of, hey, we talking about air freight. Now we talking about ocean freight. Now we're talking about government contracting. Now we're talking about dump trucks. Now we're like all in one room. So people can just sit there for 3 days and just their mind be blown to all the different opportunities that they didn't know about, or if they knew about it or heard about it, now they have deeper knowledge of it. So that was kind of the goal, to create what Truck and Hustle is, but in a live event type of scenario. So, just kind of just putting that together, thinking about what that would look like. I just started like kind of just reaching out to the people who I thought would just add the most value to something like that. The people who I thought would just bring it on stage, had a really great story, had a really great business, and just trying to, aggregate them together and just say, hey man, like we want to create an event where all you guys come together in one place. And that's what Freight Fest is. And the name Freight Fest is exactly that. It's like all things freight. Like it's not about one particular niche or topic. It's just all things freight. And it's just a festival of just celebrating people, celebrating these different business opportunities all in one place where people get together and just learn from each other. So that was kind of like the thought behind it. And that's kind of, the vision behind it.
Question, were you ever scared to like say do all this, right, prepare for it, and then be like, man, what if like nobody shows up?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. That's the stress part of it. It's like, what if nobody comes, right? Like that's what you're thinking. And that's another thing with events. Like the ticket sales and everything, they go in spurts. So like when you announce it, it's like you got a bunch of people, oh, I'm coming, I'm there, and they're buying tickets, right? And then all of a sudden it just goes dead and nobody's buying tickets. It's like, man, are we gonna make it? Like, I don't know. And then, you know, as it gets closer, you know, a month out, 2 months out, people start buying tickets again. And it's like, okay, now they're, so it's like there's really no way to really project how many attendees you're gonna have, or no. Now we have a sample because we knew what we did last year.
Right.
So it's like, okay, we know that if we had 700 people last year, we can say at least 80%, 75% to 80% of those people are most likely going to show up because we did our job and we delivered an amazing event, right? That was the feedback that we got. So let's say 75% of those people show up. And then if those 75% of people tell one person, that should be where our number is at this year. And then, like, in addition to all the marketing and different stuff that we do to get the word out, right, that should be where our number is that year. So that's kind of like the math that you kind of do, at least that I did, to kind of figure out where we should be at. But yeah, you don't know. You don't know because it's not like people are going to say, yeah, don't worry, Ramel, we're going to buy a ticket. It's cool. Just mark me down, pre-authorize the credit card. It's good. You have no idea until they actually purchase and they come, right? So all we could do is just make sure that we are we let them know what we're providing. We create we do a good job of communicating what the value is, so that that strengthens our chances of making sure people show up to this event. And the best marketing is word of mouth, right? Like people are so excited about Freight Fest now because they were there last year, and a lot of people who didn't come missed it. They heard about what they missed. So because we didn't brick the first time, because we had a good event, people are talking about it. So it makes it easier, like, to where I'm getting a ton of people reaching out. What's going on at Freight Fest? What's happening? They want to be a part of it because they knew what happened last year, and they want to be a part of that this year. But man, aside from that, you really just don't know what you never know what to expect, man, until it happens.
Ramel, how much do you think, like, overall you would need, like, in cash up front to do it, like an event like that? Like how much would you have to recoup afterwards?
Oh, the good stuff, man. All right, so to do an event of that size, you can spend anywhere from $250 to $500,000.
Wow.
Sheesh.
Depending on, and the reason it's such a wide, and this is funny, right? The reason it's such a wide range is because it depends on what you want to do at the event. So you got food and beverage, right?
Yeah.
If you feed everybody every single second of the day, you know, you're looking at spending a couple $100,000 in food, man. Like, you know, coffee adds up to thousands and thousands of dollars. Like, people don't understand the money that goes into these events. And I didn't even understand it. Like, I've been to events before, and I'm like, oh man, all they got is croissants. Like, that's the best shit I could do. I started having to pay for croissants, and I'm like, oh, that's why they only have croissants, right? Even like laminates, right? Laminates, the little laminates that you put on.
Oh yeah.
Yo, bro, we spent $20,000 on laminates.
Dang.
What? Wow. Yeah.
And then that's crazy because everybody just takes that and then just throws that out after.
Actually, I have it on my wall right here. I keep them. Right. They're souvenirs.
And now I've started to appreciate the laminates where I'm keeping all of them because I'm like, I understand that this is a cost. So it's like you have to think about what's important to you. Like, what is gonna, in the experience, what is the most important things in the experience, right? Is a laminate important, or do you want to maybe take some of that money and allocate that to food, or do you want to reallocate that to the experience, or like an activation event, or, you know, to a performer or whatever? So you have this budget that you're working with, and then you have to figure out where you want to put the money. Then you still got to market the event. You know, you got to spend thousands on just Facebook ads, right? And YouTube ads. It's just cost. We had a billboard in Houston last year. Oh, wow. Billboard cost $10,000 for a month.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So when people like look at these costs of these events, like, and you're like, man, this event costs $1,000 or whatever, like, literally realize that a lot of times you're just breaking even on these events. They're not making tons of money on these events until you grow the event to where, number one, it's so large that you don't have to do marketing anymore. Right. Number two, it's so large where you have a ton of sponsors knocking on your door and paying you top dollar to be able to get in front of your audience. But you have to build to that. That doesn't happen in year one, year two. You have to build to that. So those first couple of years, it's coming out of your pocket. You know what I mean? Primarily. Now, of course, you're going to have some people that support you and all that. But man, for the most part, you have to carry that load until you have your event becomes a staple, it's established, and now people are going to spend money on it.
Dude, that's so awesome to see you do that, though. You know, that you kind of just started like not like kind of how Paul mentioned, but you didn't get like, you know, all this investment money or something, but you kind of just started grinding from the thing and just like bootstrapped
from media. That's amazing.
That's really awesome. Yeah.
Thank you, man. It's super scary though, man. I'm telling you, events are not for the weak. Even like our networking events, like, you know, we have to spend money on that. Like, you know, just getting like entertainment, you know, the venue, food. It's all this money is money we're putting out with the hope and expectation that people come. Right. So we know we have a strong following, but still, it's still a hope until they actually show up. You don't know.
Sometimes
you don't know
you
if
have
you're getting
a
that money
following,
back.
But then you need something done, and people are like, this costs money. I'm good with it.
Exactly.
The most powerful thing, Ramel, is definitely the podcast. Because I listened to a few podcasts, and they actually mentioned how they did a get together, and it's a popular podcast, and thousands of people came. And whereas like TikTok dancers can't get anyone to show up, you know, you have that voice, and people know you, and it's like that magnitude of you're essentially building a relationship with everyone that listens to you, because they get to know you, they hear you, which is so much different than building an audience off of, let's say, only memes or TikTok videos, because like you might have 100,000 followers on TikTok, but I guarantee you won't be able to get 1,000 people to come to your show. Whereas someone that has a voice, that's a lot more powerful. So props to you, Ramel. That's amazing that you've been able to do that.
Thank you, man. Appreciate that. Appreciate that.
That's really cool.
It's crazy, man. I mean, even like the first I know last year when we did our first 2 reset events, our networking events, and our first one was like we planned for 80 people. We wanted to do it small. It was like, let's do 80 people. Ended up being like 120 something people there, maybe 130. Right. So it sold out to the point, like it was a really small venue, and to the point where we had to turn people away. Like people were coming and we're like, nah, you didn't buy tickets. You can't come in because literally the fire marshal will shut the place down. Right. And then after that, after we were able to pull that off, I said, we got something here. People actually came, and I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know what to expect. And then when I saw the people come, and not only just come, but they were so happy, and there was just so much love, and people were so excited to like meet myself, meet like the Truck and Hustle team, and like everybody was just like elated, right? And I was like, all right, let's do it again. 2 months later, we did Houston, 450 people, and I'm like, oh shit. All right, people really want to see us. You know what I mean? Like people are really interested in like these live in-person events, not only to connect with me or connect with people from Truck and Hustle, but just to connect with each other, because they're all like a part of this ecosystem, and they don't get an opportunity to connect with each other in person. So it's like they may see each other's comments on top of a video or something like that, but this is an opportunity for them to all be in one place. You know, so it's so dope, man. And you know, but like I said, you really have to bet on yourself, and you have to like, it's pressure. It's like you just don't know what's gonna happen until it happens. But I know, like, you know, like the Houston event was really crazy, because when I remember I had a problem in the back, and I had to get on my phone. There was something going on in my bank. I had to pay somebody real quick, and they froze my bank account for something stupid. It was like my Zelle account, and something happened where there was some fraud on my bank account, and Zelle wouldn't send it or whatever. So I'm somebody's waiting to be paid. I had to go into the back to make the call to the bank. And I'm stressing because like this person's waiting for their money. They're not moving until they get their money. And I'm like, all right, I got to get this taken care of. Meanwhile, the building is filling up. So I'm literally in the back in the bathroom on the phone, talking on the phone, right? And there's people coming into the bathroom. They like, hey, Truck and Hustle, what's going on, man? I'm like, hey, man, what's going on? I can't talk right now, but we'll talk in a second. So when I went back there, it was literally like maybe like 15 people in there. When I walked out, it was like hundreds of people, and I'm like, whoa, when did this happen? Like literally from going in the back to make a phone call to leaving, the place just got crazy, and it just was like packed, and I was like, whoa, this is wild. I couldn't believe it, because I'm back there, you know, worried about this banking issue, but meanwhile the place is just filling up. That's awesome. I mean, we have lines outside, and it's crazy, man. It's crazy, but it's incredibly like humbling. And it's like, we're just blessed to be in the opportunity, to have the opportunity to be able to like build community like that, and for people to show up and show out for us. Because I mean, like you said, to your point, everybody can't do that, right? That doesn't happen for everybody. So we're blessed, man.
That's amazing.
Do you pick a specific I guess city where you do this? Did you like plan this out? Like how do you know which city to do, like, say, these resets or these events?
Yeah, so analytics. So basically, I'm always looking at analytics and looking at where our following is at and where our strongest markets are at. And then sometimes we just do it like on a whim. So I'll give you an example. So like our first two networking events was Atlanta and Houston, pure analytics, right? So strongest markets, Houston, Dallas, like DFW area, Georgia, Atlanta specifically, New York, Philadelphia, Chicago, a lot of the transportation hubs. It makes sense, right? Where there's ports, LA, right? Wherever there's ports, they're usually listening to Truck and Hustle. So analytics. Now, we did one in Orlando, in Florida. That one wasn't really as analytic driven because we have more of a listenership in Miami, right? And like South Florida, but we did in Orlando because TIA was there. So I was like, we're going to TIA for an event. I want to see if we can leverage some of the TIA following and bring them to our event, which totally didn't work, right? Because here's the thing, we planned it on the wrong day. So number one, there was a bunch of different activation events, right, out there in Orlando that other people were doing, sponsors for TIA. So people already had a fill of things to do. Number two, on Sunday when we threw our event, everybody was leaving.
Yeah.
So we literally got like none of the TIA audience, but we were able to get our own audience there. We sold out that event too. But it was funny, like, because the plan and the reason we did it there didn't work at all. Like I was like, oh, we're gonna kill it. We're gonna have all these TIA freight brokers and stuff at the reset.
Yeah.
Really, like none of them showed up. So I'm like, all right, cool.
Everyone left on Friday
to get people there.
Everyone left on Friday from Orlando.
Everybody left on. So our event was Saturday, I think. Saturday. It wasn't Friday. So everybody was leaving Saturday night and Sunday. And if I would have really like taken my time to really think about it, I'd be like, man, they probably leaving on flights on Friday or Saturday morning. But I didn't. I was like, let's do it.
I was there on Saturday morning, and I mean, typically Saturday mornings are pretty dead at TIA, and like most conferences, I think. But overall, like I was there on Saturday morning, and it was actually great speakers there, but there was like probably like 100 people there. And then I drove to Miami because my dad and my little sister flew in, so I just left right away. It was like a ghost town a little bit because Thursday and Friday were packed. Bob left on Friday. But so people ended up leaving.
That's exactly what happened. And so Saturday, like I think they had like from 9 to 12 maybe on Saturday.
9 to 12. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. 9 to 12, and then our event started at 1. So basically, everybody's on their flight on their way back home after that. Like, I even had a couple people that purchased tickets that were at TIA that end up not making it. They're like, oh, man, I wanted to come, but, I couldn't change my flight or whatever the case may be.
Sure.
So it's cool. Yeah. But so to answer the question, basically, usually it's analytic driven, it's data driven. But every now and again, I'll just throw a Hail Mary and see if we could do something to build new audience or go in a space where, hey, this isn't really our market, but let's just test it and see what we could do. Right, let's just grow some new audience there, because what's going to happen is we're gonna run ads, right? So these are going to be new people who don't necessarily know who Truck and Hustle is. So ultimately, it's still building our audience, right? Even if they don't know who we are, they're going to know who we are then. So that, it's just testing.
Ramel, from all the advertising that you do for Freight Fest, where do you think you get the best ROI from which platform? Or even like the billboard? I don't even know.
I would say Facebook and YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah, Facebook and YouTube. I would say primarily Facebook though.
Okay.
Yeah, Facebook gets the most traction. We've had like close to 10,000 hits on the Freight Fest website that were driven just from ads. Okay. So I mean, you get a ton of just traction from like last year, to now. Yeah. So you like that's driven to that landing page, and those were all from ads. So yeah, they come from Facebook, I would say, primarily.
Very cool.
Facebook is huge for that. I've noticed that too. Everybody like.
So many people still use Facebook. I don't use Facebook anymore, but so many
nobody uses it. But for ads, it's the best thing. It's crazy. I don't know how Mark Zuckerberg did it, but like you're right. Like in terms of like the popular platforms, it feels like nobody's on there, but it's the most popular. It's the most. I guess what it is. Yeah. Everybody has a Facebook page.
Yeah.
Right. Like regardless, like you have it, even if you don't use it a lot. And then Facebook is also Instagram, so like it's the same thing. And then on top of that, I think a lot of the older people, like the older community, like 30 and up, they have Facebook pages.
Totally.
Like let's say
I just
35
turned
and
30
up,
and I
right? They're
noticed I
still
sit
on
more
Facebook. Huh?
I said I just turned 30 and I noticed I sit more on Facebook, you know, just going through
Older people, like older people are more so on Facebook. So it's like, yeah, the more trendy is like Instagram or TikTok and all of that, but Facebook is still good because everybody has a Facebook account. And like I said, the old, especially drivers, like those Facebook communities, those communities have like hundreds of thousands of drivers on them, man.
Huge.
Drivers love Facebook for some reason. I don't know what it is about it.
That's true.
Maybe because it's the easiest platform to use or it's the most recognizable one.
And
they're not taking their time like learning a new platform every 5 days when a new one is dropped. But yeah.
I think it's because of those communities, Ramel. I think a lot of times like they don't have other communities on other networks, and Facebook just makes it easy because you have those groups and they love going to those
Facebook groups. Those are super powerful. Those are powerful.
They are. So Ramel, what's the vision for the future of Truck and Hustle? Where do you want to take this?
Man, just world domination, man. We're gonna just keep on doing more of what we do better. Like, you know, my goal is just, you know, number one, just improving our infrastructure, you know, automating some things, and just being able to improve on like, just the experience and just dealing with us, whether it's from a vendor side, somebody who's sponsoring with us, or a person who just has an inquiry about, you know, something that's transportation related, about an event. Just really like working on building the back end of our business because, you know, like when I got into this, I didn't realize that this was a business. It kind of became a business as I continued, right? So now I'm realizing all the pieces that I have to have in place in order to make it a legitimate business. So that's what I'm just really concentrating on: the infrastructure, sales teams. You know, you got to have accounts payable, making sure people are billed on time, making sure you're paid on time. Like all these little things that, you know, we don't want to think about as creatives, right, are the most important part to it. So that, for me personally, my thing is just getting my team as tight as possible, getting our processes and systems in place as much as possible. And then in terms of like our offerings, just creating more, like just more offerings, man, putting more things out there. We want to create some more products. We're working on launching a community in the next 50 days. That I'll be announcing that very soon. That's going to be like to where people can, you know, be on our community, get mentorship, coaches, and also do some like peer-to-peer growing of their businesses as well. And then, you know, doubling down on merch, continuing to grow the merch, continuing with the events, and just, you know, creating more content, man, like more podcasts. Just recently launched Shift, which is our technology podcast, which is sharing helpful insights in freight technology. And that's basically focused solely on tech. I just realized like the tech space is just so huge, and I want to be on the front. I want to be a part of that, like a part of that, you know, in terms of media, right? Because obviously tech is out there and is growing, but in terms of the media for tech, I don't think nobody's really cracked that code yet. So that's what we're working on right now with Shift. And yeah, just being creative, man, and doing more things. And I want to get into tech also, like what you guys do with Shipper CRM. I love that. So that's something that I've been brainstorming myself as well. Like, what does our community need that we can get into the tech space and compete? And I've just been kind of thinking about that, and, you know, talking to some people, running some surveys and asking questions, because I don't want to just start something just for the hell of starting it. I want to make sure that it adds value and people really need it, because we have the audience, but it's like, if we're going to create a product, we want to make sure it's the right product. So I've been thinking a lot about tech as well. But yeah, we're already juggling so much, man. It's just so about doing what we're doing now, but doing it better. Just doing what we're doing now better.
I love it. So being the processes. You go ahead, Bob.
You're planning on sticking basically to the whole trucking industry, not going somewhere doing something else, like kind of just sticking with the whole trucking industry. And
yeah, so I mean, the thing is, it's so big, man. It's not just trucking; it's just transportation and logistics, like supply chain. Like, we want to focus on all the different opportunities that we can explore within the industry. Like, no, I'm not going to go out and start like a podcast or something about something that's out of the industry. Nah, because
about real estate.
Nah, for what? There's other people that do that way better than me, you know, and they have a head start. Like, I'm going to double down on what's been working. So, you know, for me, from a business perspective, there's no point in me doing that. Like I
Yeah,
may
and
be
you're right.
interested
I
in
feel
real
like
estate.
there's still not that many people in the trucking community. Like, you know, they're not really doing like even the social media type. There is a lot more now popping up because I feel like it's kind of hot. Like trucking, even tech trucking is kind of hot. So there
Yeah.
are more people going into it, but I feel like it's still not as overcrowded, kind of like real estate is, you know, because if you go on real estate and you type in about Airbnbs or something, oh my goodness, you'll find
Yeah.
a million
Yeah.
different podcasters and who
Yeah,
knows
I mean
what.
the thing is like it's already like it's those markets are oversaturated. So like if you're leading in a specific space, like why would you divert your attention somewhere else and like take away
Totally.
from what you could be just
Gotta stay
growing, right?
focused.
Just yeah, we're
Yeah,
gonna double down and just keep on crushing them, man, and just
and
keep on
be
building and building
consistent.
and just trying to
Love
take
Yeah.
it to
it.
the next level. So yeah,
Awesome.
you won't see
Um,
us doing no real estate, no Toro, no forex, no investing. Yeah,
Well, is that Toro, right? What's
that's
the
turbo.
that's
Toro?
That's
not
turbo.
Yeah.
That's
turbo.
Oh, okay.
TMS.
No,
Yeah.
that's
Oh, it's a
CMS. I'm
TM.
saying
Okay.
Toro, like teaching people how to rent cars or something like that. Like
Oh,
we're
yeah,
gonna stay
yeah,
in our lane. You know what I mean? Like we're gonna
yeah.
stay in our lane and make sure we continue to like add value where we add value and just do a
No,
better job at what we're currently doing.
it's
So
great
that's
advice.
it.
Ramel, quick question, Paul,
Talk to me.
before you go. So
Yeah.
what gets you motivated? What do you read some kind of stuff that you wake up and you just choose to be like this motivated every single day?
I
Because
love the
sometimes
energy
I
from
wake up, I'm
Amel.
like, bro,
Amel's
I'm
got
giving up
amazing
trucking.
energy.
Yeah, man. So, the funny thing is like in my mind, I'm like a avid reader, like in my mind. Like I have like I should show you. I wish I had the box here. I have a box with
Uh-huh.
like 300 books in it, right? Like boxes. And I just buy books and I'll never read any of them, right? Because I just want to, I buy the books for the satisfaction of knowing I have the book. And in case I want to go back to it one time, I have it. But, I take I'm more of a podcast, I'm more of an audio learner. So I'm like, I love podcasts. Like, I'm not only a podcaster, but I'm also a podcastee. I'm
Okay.
like one of my favorite podcasts. Like I'll shout some out. Like I'm into like Pat Flynn. I'm into like My First Million.
Oh yeah, my first million.
Like My First Million, that's
Oh
my guy.
yeah,
Sam Parr, Sean
I love
Puri.
it.
I like Masters of Scale. Like I love podcasts. So a lot of the learning I do when I have time is just audibly just listening to podcasts. And that's where I get like little tips and tricks and stuff like that. And just hear about other cool things that people are doing. But ultimately what keeps me motivated and just excited is just, man, like you only have one life, man. You might as well just live it, man. Just give it your all
Yeah.
and just see what you could build, right? Because at the end of the day, if none of this works, it doesn't really work and nobody's going to really care anyway. But if it does work, then, I could go down in history, man. Truck and Hustle would go down in history. And, I think that the impact that we've had, like when I get the messages, the DMs, the emails, the feedback from our community and the lives that we've changed, like that's super impactful, man. Like we've touched people in so many different ways just through the stories that we've told and the content that we've created. And we help people build their businesses. We encourage people. We inspire people to get started. We give people tips on how to stay in the game. We help connect people behind the scenes. So it's a ton of value that we're adding that you can't even put a number on. Like if you had to put a valuation on what Truck and Hustle is, millions, trillions, billions, it's way beyond all of that because it's so much value that's not even that we don't even know, right? Just in like building a family legacies that's going to continue to go on and on and on that could have started with that seed that was planted with the Truck and Hustle platform. So for me, like that, you can't put a number on that. And like when I'm no longer here, that's only thing that's going to count is the impact that, that I've made or that the platform has made. My family will care about me, but for most part, people are not going to care about how much I have, how much money I made, all that type of stuff. Nobody care. All they're going to say is, man, I remember that one episode of Truck and Hustle that changed my life. When I heard that, I started my business and now look at me, right? So when we're able to create that kind of experience for people, that's what kind of gets me motivated, man. And just wanting to loving to just win, man. Just loving to see things build. And I love business in general. So it's not just always about trucking or transportation for me. I just love business. I love people like just starting cool things. And I just love like, damn, that was a dope idea. Like I love how they pulled that off. Like when I see that, that fires me up and that gets me excited. I'm like, man, I like that. So that's what it is. Just really just a love of business, entrepreneurship, doing it your own way and just, creating something out of nothing. And that's what motivates me.
I love that. Guys, I do have to get going here. So just real quick, last question, Mel.
Yeah.
what like one piece of advice that you would share with someone that's trying to get into like logistics or trying to do something with media in the industry? What's like one piece of advice you would want to share with them?
One piece of advice to share: if you want to get into media, all right, here's my advice for media. If you want to get into media, you have to have very thick skin, and you have to be prepared to like not like you can't be you can't always be agreeable, and you can't always be everybody's friend, right? Because when you're in media, you have to be able to be non-biased, and you have to be able to tell stories from both sides. And a lot of times, especially in our space and what we do, we have a lot of personal relationships that that kind of trickle over into our media companies, right? So it's hard to kind of balance that. So you have to position yourself to where like you have to like make a statement as to what is your purpose? What are you here for? Are you here to tell the truth? Or are you here to tell a one-sided story, a biased story? What is your company about, right? And for me, anybody who wants to start a reputable media company, you have to be willing to like not be liked by everybody, because everybody's not going to always agree with you, and everybody's not going to always like you. But as long as you're telling your truth, that's what's most important, right? So you have to be comfortable with that, and you have to not worry about the backlash that's going to come with sometimes telling the uncomfortable truth, right? So that would be my advice for anybody who wants to get into media, and that's kind of like that happens once you get to a certain place. That's not starting advice, because starting out, there's other types of advice to get started. But when you're going to get to a point to where your relationships and your friendships are going to start to intersect with your business, and you have to figure out how to balance that and make that work for what's most important, which is your audience, because that's really who's truly important, the audience, right? Making sure you're delivering the truth to them as you see it, and making sure that those relationships, because, you know, like we have sponsors, we have friends, we have people, and it's like, you know, you want to manage all these relationships and all these friendships, but at the same time, you have an audience that's looking to you to be truthful, right? So how do you manage that, right? So it's like, for example, you could have a software system, and you're like, you know, they're the best, we love them because they're paying you, right? And then, you know, a couple weeks later, you see they're doing something foul, and you're like, man, I'm not behind that. So how do you go back and say to your audience, you know what, even though they support us monetarily, you know, maybe that practice I don't agree with, or we don't represent that. Like, how do you find that balance in that, right? So that's something that I think people don't talk about a lot in media, and that's why I brought it up, because I could have told you something that was like, you know, more cliche and say like be consistent or whatever. I've talked about that before, but I think what really is difficult managing your personal relationships with your business relationships, because you have an audience and you have a lot of influence, and that's a lot of power, and you can use that power in any way that you decide to use that power. And people are going to try to leverage that power, and you're going to have friends that want to leverage that power, but all their intentions are not going to always be good. And you have to be able to see that, and you have to be able to know what's good for your audience and what you want to, what's most important to you. Right. That's how you have longevity, and that's how you build trust, right, in your audience, and you have your audience forever, and you're not swayed by a dollar or by whatever the case may be. So it's just very difficult, because as we know, it's very difficult to monetize a podcast. It's difficult to monetize an Instagram page and all that, right? We're like, man, we're spending all this time and investing all this money and sweat, and we don't get anything for it. So when the first person that's willing to throw us $1, we're like, oh, we're taking it. But that may not always be what's best for your audience. So you sometimes got to turn that dollar down, right? So you have to figure out how to create that balance to make sure that you're always telling the truth, and at the same time you can manage those relationships and friendships and all that, and just kind of creating that balance. So I would say go into it knowing that you're not going to always be liked, and everybody's not going to be your friend, and that's okay. At the end of the day, it's not about
that too.
them. It's about your audience. The truth will prevail.
100% true. Sometimes you just gotta exactly have thick skin and not really care what other people say, you know, and just
definitely
what they tell you what to do.
It's tough, but you have to do that, especially in this business.
Definitely. Ramel, it's been amazing talking to you. I do unfortunately have to go. I'm getting blown up by my little sister's flying into Poland right now, and she's blowing up my phone because I think she's like, I gotta go pick her up. I do have to run. But it was
real
great.
quick before you go,
Yeah.
I just want to offer anybody who's listening to this podcast, I got a code for y'all for Freight Fest, FC15. I'm going to give you guys a link. If you buy a ticket for Freight Fest through the link, you'll get 15% off. So
Awesome.
15% off for Freight Fest.
Love it.
For my Freight Caviar guys, man, listen, I appreciate you guys so much. Again, I'm a huge fan. I'm watching everything you're doing, and anything you need from me, always feel free to reach out.
Thank you, Ramel.
Appreciate
Truly
you coming on.
that.
Yeah, that was awesome. We got to do this again for sure, though.
Definitely.
Let's do it. Let's do it, guys.
Okay.
Awesome.
Sounds good. Have a good day.
All right. Thanks.
Take care, Ramel.
All right.
See ya.
See ya, Paul. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Daily Freight Caviar podcast. If you enjoyed the podcast, or if you didn't, leave a review. Let me know what you think. I appreciate any feedback. If you'd like to have more Freight Caviar content, go to freightcaviar.com and subscribe to my email newsletter.